Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect, the podcast that's about to rock your marketing world. I'm Julie Chenell, and with my co-founder, Cathy Olson, we're the masterminds behind Funnel Gorgeous and FG Funnels. We're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. We'll chat mouth-watering offers, copy, design, and give you an inside look of some of our best and worst funnels. No smoke and mirrors, just real strategies that work from two ladies who have been around the funnel block. So grab your coffee or something stronger, we won't judge, and get ready to unleash the gorgeous effect on your business. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this. Hey everyone, it's Julie and Cathy. We're back with another episode of The Gorgeous Effect. Today we are talking about how to teach, how to share, how to write, how to communicate in a way that people will understand, comprehend, remember, and use. So I love this topic. I could geek out on this topic all day.
And I think everyone wants to hear you geek out on this topic all day because you're such a good teacher. I remember that was probably one of the first questions I ever asked you. I was like, how do you teach like this? Like you somehow say things so that I understand them the first time and I remember, I retain them and I'm able to use them. Whereas other people, I will hear them say the same thing 20 times and I still don't get it.
I relate to that. There are some people where I listen, I'm just like, I really think
I might be one of those people also, to be fair, because sometimes I start to teach stuff and people are like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean what? I just said it. Can you put it in a sentence? And I'm like, yes, I guess I can. And then Julie's like, what she said is, and
what she means is,
she'll say it the way I was supposed to say it. And then they'll get it. Oh, okay, I get it.
Translator for creatives, I have been 100%. Called. Well, so to not to make this episode super boring, but if I were to boil it down into one statement, it's that when you teach, if you can give people a neurochemical rush in the brain, they will remember it. So it's the aha moment. If you can give someone a little aha moment, it's a little burst of cool, or oh, I didn't see it that way, or oh, that makes sense. Just that neurochemical spot in the brain is enough for them to walk away and go, that was awesome. I learned something. That's it. That's the goal.
So yes, sure. That's it. But how the heck do we create an aha moment? I think one of the things that I've been learning from you over all of these years is the simplicity factor. I think there's only so much you can expect a human brain to remember. And so it's almost like your biggest ideas or your biggest ahas that you put out are simple ones, but it's not simple oh, we already knew that.
Right. It's, yeah, I know what you mean. So one way to talk about the aha moments is it's them remembering their realization longer than my explanation.
Okay. So it felt like that needed some air.
It's them remembering the moment where they're like, oh.
It's them making the connection themselves.
Right. Rather than what I actually said. So, and because honestly, when you're teaching, people will go back and they'll review the tactics and they'll review the steps and they'll, that's all fine. But what they will remember is the moment where they were like, right. That's what they'll remember. It's kind of like that, and that quote, people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. It's kind of similar.
Mm-hmm. Well, then that's funny too, because that's always even different. So at the end of events and stuff, you always say what was your takeaway? Or even at the end of the day of an event, right? What were your takeaway? And everyone has these different takeaways, but to me, just kind of psychologically, I'm of course that's what they would have grabbed. Everyone, because they put it through their own filter. And so again, it's not I'm not going to parrot back a bunch of things that Julie taught. It's I'm going to say what Julie taught that sunk into me because of my situation.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I always tell people, feel free to repeat yourself again and again and again, because people are going to hear the same thing at different moments in their life and it's going to land differently. Right. So when you think about getting an aha moment, the reason why people have an aha moment is because something clicks, right? And in order for something to click, you have to like march them down a path so that they arrive at the click. So I find that a lot of people, when they teach, are too expert. They are too far down the path. They haven't simplified it enough. They haven't broken it down enough. They haven't gone back to the beginning enough because they're afraid of it not being impressive. They're afraid of it sounding boring. And so they don't go back far enough. And so they're unable to engineer that breakthrough because they're skipping so many important moments where the student can make the connection.
Yeah, for me, what really helps, just the learner, not as the teacher, is the visuals because I think
Mm.
in visuals, and so I can
Yes.
that for me. There's a whole like thing that where you talk about like going to different rooms. Okay, so like if you're like trying to remember a speech or something or some kind of like the words, you go into different rooms and you say a different part of the speech, and then when you're trying to remember like you visualize the rooms, and so there's a whole part about like kind of wiring your brain together with other things and just like smells, how they unlock things and all that. So for me, I always, if someone doesn't give me the visuals, I kind of visualize it in my head so that I can remember. But
Yep.
as a teacher, I try to use that opposite. Like when I am doing slides or something like that, I am kind of teaching something. I try to show stuff as visually as possible so that I have a better chance of them remembering it. And you do this too with like grids and like where you're seeing like a comparison chart. Like I'll see you teach in visuals a lot, even though you're not a designer. Well, you don't really have to be, right? Like yeah, but
Hmm.
you understand that seeing in that chart is gonna help someone remember it, much easier and also understand the whole idea of the topic of like this versus this. I was just thinking about something you were teaching in Launch Gorgeous where you were showing like the different examples and you were
Yeah.
showing it in a table form so that the examples like had they like lived in space. Does that make sense? Am I getting to
Yeah.
do you need to like to say what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, you're making sense.
Okay.
You're totally making sense. Well, so if people want like steps of like how to be a better teacher, I think one thing that you can do to start is when you are, whether it's a piece of content or it's a slide deck or whatever it is, anchor the idea emotionally. Like, why are people going to care about this? Like, what is the payoff for caring about this? So it could be curiosity, it could be personal relevance. Like, if they're
They need
not
to care.
anchored,
Yeah.
what'd you say?
I just said they need to care before
They
they
need to
can hear
care.
it.
Yeah. And so that usually starts with a story or a problem of some kind, right? And, I just got off a hot seat with Funnel Gorgeous Society, and Kat came on and she gave me her offer brief, and it was kind of a mess. And it's always it comes back to the problem. So, what problem are you trying to solve, right? So, if you can focus on the problem, you can focus on the emotional payoff of why this matters, you've got their attention, right? And then I think the second thing you want to do is break the concept down into its simplest form and simplest steps. And that doesn't mean like giving everybody every detail. Like, think about this. If I'm looking at a tree right now, if I'm teaching William about a tree, I'm not going to begin by talking about the atoms that make up the cells and then the leaf structure and then the chlorophyll and the photosynthesis. I'm not going to teach it that way. I'm going to teach like, hey, here's a tree. It's got roots, it's got bark, it's got branches, it's got leaves, right? And then I might go around the concept again, and this time I might go a little deeper. I might talk about the leaves and the patterns on the leaves and the flowers and the seeds, and then I'll go around again, I'll get deeper. And people typically work better that way. And so always frame something in a simple form. So think of a tree. Have you seen those videos on TikTok where they show you how to draw? And it's like they give you a tree, but four
Yeah.
different ways to draw the tree. And it's like the
Shapes and
really
stuff.
basic way and
Yeah.
then the really complex way. That can help people have an aha. So that's how I would start is make them care and then strip it down to its simplest form and then circle the drain, if you will, again and again, getting deeper and build those mental stairs so that they can start to be like, oh, 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 right. And then what you said about visuals is repetition matters. So saying things different ways, stories, showing them in graphics, giving them exercises, like different ways of saying the same thing will help create that sort of imprint on people's minds.
I really like what you said about the whole idea of kind of, drawing the tree and stuff. And or even just like it'll be like a character, like a Disney character, and they'll start with circles and squares and like all that. And the funny thing is that's not actually how people like real artists don't do don't do
I
circles and
know.
squares, but you have to build a system until it's innate. And so I
Yeah.
think that's where people go wrong. I'm actually taking a class right now on like styling like clothes. And
Hmm.
one thing that she's doing wrong is she just keeps spouting off things she knows, but she's not
Hmm.
building it into a system. So she's talking about like the shapes of an outfit. And
Hmm.
she's like, so this works for short legs and long legs and short torso. And I'm like, wait, what? Torso? What leg? And all she needed to do was just show the square and the circle. You know what I'm saying? Like if I could just, and again, I know this is visual, but still it's like a system to where like this makes a box, this makes a triangle. You just need to, instead of like, showing me the like esoteric shape that she's seeing, that she's visually seeing. I'm not visually seeing it yet because I don't have a simple system. Like you said, I don't have the tree structure. When you're talking to me about the atoms, like I don't even know what it looks like. I need to
Exactly.
understand the simplest form of it first. But again, I think systems help that. Like having that
Right.
system of like step one, step two, step three, step one, step two, step three. And then I do that, and then I can get the nuance after I've really learned that structure.
Right. It's the difference between teaching with like outcomes and application, right? So versus like topics and just like facts. And
Yeah, because
so,
I'm never gonna remember. Just
no,
the
I
stuff that
know.
you've learned over, 20 years of doing what you do is not going to soak into my brain. I'm not a sponge. I don't have a photographic memory. Like you have
Exactly.
to start with a structure that I can that and then once I get that, then I can start.
Right. So the probably the curse of genius is happening to this
Yeah.
instructor because if I said to her, if I went up to her and I said, I have the most expensive, crazy ball that I have to go to, and I have to wear the most amazing outfit. She would pick out the outfit, and I would say, "Well, why did you pick this outfit for me?" And she'd say, "Well, I picked out this skirt because this is of your leg size, and I picked out these boots because of this." And she would probably have no trouble styling me well and answering my questions. But if I then said, okay, well, can I do that for my friend over here? She would start to get in her head. She'd be like, well, actually, no, because there's a rule and you got to do this. And
100%.
actually, no, right. And so she's imagining all those rules. And so instead of teaching for outcome and application, like, hey, I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to know to dress this one person. She's like trying to close all those loops in her brain, but you can't hold any of it because
Hmm.
you don't have the structure. So
Yeah, because
people
she'd
do
just
that
be
a
like, well,
lot.
yeah, when you're wearing this length of skirt, you don't want to close off that. So don't want to strap on that shoe. And I'm like, wait, did I write that down? Like, I'm never going to remember that I don't need a strap. So like, again, it's like little things. But like, again, if I started with the basic, got the basic down, and then got, okay, you don't want to ever cut lines or whatever. There's a whole thing to it, which is fascinating to me. But again, I do think that it could be done a little bit better way. And I kept thinking, I wish Julie was teaching this because this would be much
Well,
better.
you know what's so funny is like sometimes when it comes to fashion, like I'm the worst, right? So it would be hilarious if she tried to teach me her fashion because I would probably find every single gap there was in her teaching style because I have zero, like zero
Yeah.
foundation of
Yeah.
fashion with which to build upon. So that would really be a fun experiment.
But it actually makes me think of what the work that you and I have done together with design, teaching design stuff, because I remember
Yes.
you saying like we need a system for this and we need like, we need it like a step by step. What are your rules? And that was the biggest thing was like the rules because I was like, well, sometimes I do this and sometimes I do that. And well, why'd you do that? Why did like that whole the idea of the structure and having rules behind what you choose? And then cool, you can break them later, but you have to have those training wheels first was
Yeah.
what taught me on how to teach this thing. So it's so again, because like I'm looking at this and because I do that similar too. Like when I'm teaching, I'm like, well, you never want to have, you always want to have air when you have there. And you're like, you do? Like what? Like in my
What?
brain, that's like of course we want air. Look, it needs
Yeah.
air. And you're like, why does it need air? I'm like, what do you mean, why does it need air? Look, like, it's like, because I see something you don't see. And so that's kind of where
Yeah.
that's where it was getting lost for me, because I was like, she kept saying, well, because you need this. Well, why do I need that? Like, you don't question things when you know things so well, and everything's on the table, like for me, right? Like I could make a wrong shape and that looks okay, and I don't know why. So like
Right.
you have to tell someone you don't want this shape. Remember, never make this shape because it makes you look bigger, or because you're not showing your best feature. Like you need to like put the rules on the table and say why they're there, so that it teaches people to follow the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you can never go wrong with visuals. You can never go wrong with uh, teaching something using examples and stories. You can never go wrong with repetition, especially when you're using different like mediums. And you always have to get people to care, right? So give them a reason to care. Don't forget the really important diagnostic part of teaching, which is understanding what the problem actually is. And so, when you go to the doctor and you have a stomach ache, he can't prescribe the right treatment until he knows what's causing the stomach ache. And so when you're teaching, you can start with the problem, and you can diagnose why the problem is there and the cost of what happens if you don't fix the problem. And then they're really invested, and then you can begin scaffolding the solution. So,
Yes, very awesome.
all right. Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, if you like The Gorgeous Effect, leave us a review, give us 5 stars. That would be amazing. And feel free to tag us at Funnel Gorgeous on Instagram. We love to hear your comments and your questions for future episodes. So, talk soon.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We're just getting started with this podcast, and we're so excited to have you on this journey with us. If you found value in today's episode, we'd be over the moon if you'd consider subscribing. It's like a virtual high five that keeps us going. And hey, if you're feeling extra gorgeous, leaving a review would mean the world to us. Your words not only make our day, but it also helps other amazing folks just like you find our show through your review. Lastly, if you know someone who could use a little sales pep talk, why not spread the love? Share this episode and let's grow this gorgeous community together.